Good evening, everybody. I'd like to go ahead and call our regularly scheduled meeting for August 10th, 2020 to order. We'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start tonight by entertaining a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Mayor Hague, if I may, staff is requesting to basically swap items C and D as they're listed on the printed agenda and have D be precede C. That's the way that we have it in the PowerPoint, and that's recommended for the assessment process. So I'm recommending just swapping 6C and 6D and have 6D precede 6C. Thank you.
And everybody on council make note of that. We're swapping 6 Charlie and 6 Delta. Okay, with that said, can I entertain a motion for approval of tonight's agenda?
This is Krogman. I so
Councilmember Krogman.
So moved.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a second, please?
I will a second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, if our city administrator be kind enough to do the roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Favalis.
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby.
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman.
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter.
Aye.
And Mayor Hague.
Aye. Thank you. Consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and have been made available to the city council at least 2 days in advance of the meeting. The items will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the agenda and considered in normal sequence. On tonight's consent agenda, we have 3 items. We have our city council minutes for July 27th, 2020, our disbursement approvals through August 10th, 2020, and our approved county state aid highway, otherwise known as CASA, maintenance agreement with the Sueur County Highway Department. That said, anybody have anything to offer regarding our consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion then to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I will so move.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a second, please? Thank you. Any additional discussion? If our administrator to be kind enough to go ahead and do the roll call for the approval of tonight's consent agenda.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Favalis.
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby.
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman.
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter.
Aye.
And Mayor Hague.
Aye.
Very good. Motion
Public
passes.
comment. Public comment provides an opportunity for the public to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Persons wishing to make a comment must sign up in advance of the meeting on the sheet provided and identify themselves by providing a name and address. Administrator Krupel, do we have anybody tonight that would wish to address city council?
We do not. We have a couple people in attendance tonight, and I'll give them a little second to raise their hand if they'd like to public comment. But I believe we don't have anybody that signed up.
Okay, is there anybody out there in the public that would like to address city council? No hands?
No hands.
Okay, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion then to close the public comment portion of the meeting.
This is Krogman. So moved.
Thank you, sir.
Schleter, second.
Thank you, sir. Any final discussion on our public comment? Hearing none, if our administrator would be kind enough to go ahead and do roll call to close public comment.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Favalis.
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby.
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman.
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter.
Aye.
And Mayor Hague.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
We now move on to our regular agenda, and the first item on the docket tonight is ordinance number 587, emergency Protection Services, second reading. Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, we have Samantha DiMaggio, the Community Development Director, here to go over the second reading of Ordinance 587. There was a typo on the agenda. I think it was 557 and 558 for the next ordinance. They're 587 and 588. So not much to say for this, but Ms. DiMaggio is here to present.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Director DiMaggio. How are you this evening?
Good evening, sir. I'm fine. Thanks for asking. How are you? So this evening, good.
Welcome, looking forward.
Thank you. This is our second reading of the ordinance. We read this together at our last city council meeting. Just to go over it one more time, the city has the authority under Minnesota statute 366012 to collect for unpaid service charges. And these service charges could stem from planning and zoning fees, recovery fees. Let's say somebody has an obstruction in the right of way, or they've damaged the right of way, or maybe they've vacated a road and there's now some fees that the city has to charge because we have to either repair or do something that had to do with some service charges. And we may go forward and try to bill somebody and they may say, well, I don't want to pay you. Well, under state statute, cities have the right to collect this by adding a fee onto their, we can either send them the fee or we can add it onto their property taxes. Jasper, thank you. So City Code 30.50 fees for emergency services was originally passed via Ordinance 516. It was updated in 2015 via Ordinance 545. And inside the original ordinance, they had fees listed for fire protection services. So in 2015, they updated those fees and therefore they updated the ordinance. This ordinance has been used to collect unpaid service charges. They've used 366012. These are all state statutes that cities are able to use to collect for these service charges. They're 366011, charges for emergency services collection, 366012, collection of unpaid service charges, and statute 41501, town laws, application, use of powers by city. So these are the statutes that allow us to be able to bill somebody for providing these services. Thank you, Jasper. So Minnesota statute 366012 allows us, as I said, to charge these services onto the tax roll, the property taxes. So towns must provide written notice to the property owner. So we'll send the bill to the property owner, very similar to what we do with their electric bills if somebody hasn't paid it, stating these are the fees that are due, this is why they're due, and then what our intent is. And we will then send these on to the county auditor by October 15th. My hope is that they will actually come to the city council meeting in between or meet with staff to try to get these figured out so we don't have to assess their taxes. But unfortunately, I know in the past we've had people who haven't done that in a timely manner, so they end up getting assessments on their taxes. The charges do show up on their property tax statement as other taxes. So the property owner must pay the charges with the taxes or they're deemed delinquent. So let's say somebody says, well, I don't want to pay this money, then they would be delinquent on their taxes, similar to what happens if you don't pay your county taxes now. If not paid after 4 or 5 years, it's different in every county. I think Sueur County, we thought they were 5 years, they may be closer to 4 years. But what happens is if they don't pay their property taxes, the property forfeits to the state for non-payment of taxes. So Sueur County will get that back. The city has language right now in our fee schedule that states that we're going to charge people for out-of-pocket legal expenses and engineering expenses. Also, when we updated our zoning code in 2019, section 153.020 general administration, that talks the same thing, that any outside consultant fees or attorney fees that people will be billed back. Staff is now recommending that this section be amended so that it matches the other portions of our code that we've amended. And we're also going to add this language to our application. So when somebody comes in to apply, let's say they want to apply for a variance or they want to come in and apply for a final plat, whatever it may be, it'll say right on there that you know that we could bill you back for these charges, and then they'll sign them. I wanted to thank Councilmember Krogman. He did catch that fees had an apostrophe in it. I took that out of the original code, so that has been in the original code, but we've now updated that as well. So we've taken that out of there. The City Council is asked to waive the second reading of Ordinance 587, an ordinance updating the city code to fees for services. We'll change the name of it. Before it was fees for protective services. Now it'll just be fees for services. And consider approving the ordinance 587. If approved, the ordinance will go into effect 7 days after it's published in the newspaper. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions, any questions for Director DiMaggio? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion then to waive the second reading and adopt ordinance 587, an ordinance updating city code statute 30.50, fees for services.
Fabulous, so moved.
Thank you, sir.
Krogman, second.
Thank you, sir. Any final discussion? Hearing none, if Administrator Krugel will be kind enough to go ahead and do the vote for the waiving of the second reading and adopting ordinance 587, an ordinance adopting city code statute 30.50, fees for services.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Favalis,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter,
Aye.
and Mayor Hague.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item on our docket is 6 Bravo, ordinance number 588, pedestrian walkway ordinance repeal, the second reading. Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, again, there isn't any change from the first reading to the second reading. I'll hand it off to Community Development Director DiMaggio to give the report.
Director DiMaggio, welcome back.
Thank you, sir. This is the second reading of our ordinance. As we discussed at our last meeting, Ordinance 452 was adopted on December 15th, 1998. And it's currently Chapter 75 of our city code. It refers to the pedestrian mall that is behind the pedestrian walkway, pedestrian mall that is behind the current mall. So it's where the original Main Street was. It's where they had built the pedestrian mall. And basically at this point, since we're working to reopen Main Street, we want to take this out of our code. And that's why we're here tonight to have the second reading. Jasper, if you could go forward one more page, please. So the City Council is asked to waive the second reading of Ordinance 588, an ordinance repealing and deleting Chapter 75 traffic schedules from the City Code. If approved, this ordinance will go into effect 7 days after the publication. Not sure if you have any more questions for me. It's fairly cut and dry, I believe.
Any questions for Director DiMaggio regarding Chapter 75 traffic schedules for repeal of Ordinance 452? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion then to waive the second reading and adopt Ordinance 588, an ordinance repealing Ordinance 452 and deleting Chapter 75 traffic schedules from City Code.
Fabulous, so moved.
Leader,
Sir?
second.
Thank you, sir. Any final discussion? Hearing none, Administrator Krugel, again, if you'd be kind enough to go ahead and take the vote for waiving the adoption of Ordinance 588, an ordinance repealing Ordinance 452 and deleting Chapter 75 traffic schedules from City Code.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Favalis,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter,
Aye.
and Mayor Hague. Very good. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. So we're now going to be taking on, thank you, Director DiMaggio, for your time.
Thank
We're
you.
now
Have a
going
good
to be
night.
taking on item 6. Thank you. We're now going to entertain 6 Delta CASA 22 improvement project, declaring cost to be assessed and order preparation of assessment. Administrator approval.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, before you is a piece of the process to the 429 process, which I know everybody's heard referred to numerous times throughout the projects and other projects that we've had, in particular the Second Street project in 2017. This is the resolution that needs to be considered to declare and the cost to be assessed and order the preparation of assessments. We've been working on the assessments with that benefit appraiser valuation counselors for some time now in preparation for tonight. The assessment roll, this was the first time that it's been published out to the public. And what we really want to do, and the intent is to get this out. And if there's any errors in some of the qualifications of a property, let's say we have it listed as a rental property, but really it's not. We really want that homeowner to come out and talk to us. So that's the intent of this, as well as to follow the 429 process. I'll kick it off to Corey Beanfang, the city engineer, to go over some of the details on this item.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Bang Fang, welcome this evening, sir.
I appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to you as well.
Thank you.
Jasper did a great intro. We find ourselves gathering again to speak on a step of 429, and this is really specific to the special assessment solely. And as Jasper, communicated, this is the finality here of the benefit appraisals, and having that being consistent with the city assessment policy. It allows us to final prepare the assessment roll, and that's really what we're ordering here with this resolution. The benefit appraisals, along with that policy, broke the benefit to the abutting properties into 4 primary benefits, or 4 categories of assessment, and those are listed there on the lower left. We essentially have a mill and overlay area, a reclamation area, an urban, or what we're referring to as primarily the residential reconstruction area, and then as well as the rural. So really kind of, symbolizing the 4 different project types and the associated benefit within each of those then. In the draft assessment roll, which we're not approving that roll tonight, really this action is to order it, and an action we more or less are presenting tonight as being prepared. And then that in the upper right there categorizes those approximate assessment values based on those 4 areas then for what the total assessment for the project is, that 1.5 million. And then just a reiteration then of what the total city cost is, estimated just short of 6 million. Overall project cost is in excess of 15 million, but the city specific responsibility is that 6 million number. So if you go ahead, Jasper. So then this is a map, essentially a graphic depicting those 4 project areas based on the legend there. And overall total assessment roll is 143 properties, so puts into context how many individual PIDs are abutting the property, as well as being listed as receiving a benefit. And then in a sense, they've been identified to have a special assessment. We speak a lot about the benefit appraisals. That's directly pulled from the city assessment policy, is to correlate the special assessment to that benefit. And those were also linked in the packet for council tonight. And those are based on 3 benefit appraisals that were listed, essentially speaking to the benefit for the 4 project areas which are compiled in the 3 reports. So then the action formally tonight is to declare cost to be assessed to those abutting benefiting properties, and then ordering of that preparation of that assessment, essentially preparing the assessment roll. And this is an action that's specifically called out as a necessary step in the Chapter 429, the statute that governs the process for levying special assessments against properties. That's all I
Engineer
have.
Bang Fang. Engineer Bangfang, Mayor Hague, have a question for you, sir. I just want to be clear with our citizenry that you had mentioned the $15 million price tag, of which the 5.6 million roughly is going to be the responsibility of the city of Sueur. There's been some expenses that have been incurred and expenses that we plan on incurring in addition to these 15 million. So in reality, that number is actually 17.6 million. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure the public understood that.
Yeah,
Okay, anybody have any?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna reemphasize. So the 15 million number is the construction cost. That is physically what we're experiencing right now and will continue into next summer. That's the cost to for materials and labors to build the project. And then the additional several million then is your administration, your legal, your engineering, the costs that are tied to delivering a project. And the 429 process speaks to the total project cost. So it's the summation of those two then that is the cost that's, I guess, tied to the special assessment, or the cost that the special assessments are helping to contribute funding towards.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate that explanation, and I'm sure our citizens will too. Does anybody have any other questions for Engineer Bangfang regarding the assessment and the preparation of the proposed assessment? Okay. Hearing none, entertain a motion then to adopt the attached resolution declaring costs to be assessed and ordering the preparation of proposed assessment.
This is Krogman, so move.
Thank you, sir. Could I get a second, please?
Slater, second.
Thank you, sir. Any final questions, thoughts, ideas regarding items 6 Delta? Hearing none, if our city administrator would be kind enough to go ahead and take the vote for declaring costs to be assessed and ordering preparation of proposed assessment.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Families? I'll come. Councilmember Families?
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby?
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman?
Aye.
Councilmember Slater?
Aye.
And Mayor Hague?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. We're now going to go backtrack. Now we're going to go to 6 Charlie, Arkansas 22 Improvement Project. Order the hearing on the proposed assessment. Administrator approval.
Thank you, Mayor Hague. Before you is another agenda item related to the 429 process. These things help us get our make sure that we can assess on the project following the assessment policy of the city of Sueur. I'll hand this over to Engineer Bangfang to go over the resolution.
Thank you, Jasper.
Engineer Bangfang, welcome back.
I appreciate that. So the very next step then, after you declare costs to be assessed and then you order the preparation of the roll, is to acknowledge that the roll has been completed, which is the first line of this resolution. And then following that is the ordering of the hearing on the proposed assessment. Again, this is another mandatory step for the 429. And it's the second of formal hearing associated with the project. The first is the improvement hearing. And then the second hearing is related to the assessment. And this is the hearing where the recipients of the special assessment, or those folks that are identified on the assessment roll, are able to come before council and offer any comment, any objections to, and essentially have a formal means of receiving those. And those can be received at the meeting orally or in writing, either at the meeting or prior to. Is based on this feedback then that council is able to have an understanding of the assessment roll and how that's being received by those to be assessed. And then based on that feedback, council has the ultimate authority to change or amend that proposed assessment prior to adopting. And the idea with the assessment hearing is that is something that's publicized in the paper, as well as individual mailed notice to each of the property owners themselves that speaks to the proposed assessment that's identified on the roll, as well as an invite to this hearing and details on how to participate in that. In addition, it's common practice, and it is a consistent practice that we've implemented on this project, is to have an open house prior to these hearings. We've had multiple open houses, but we intend to do a similar practice and having an assessment specific public open house that'd be held before the hearing to help answer some questions, give some guidance on kind of typical payments, and just further more detailed information on that assessment for those folks that are interested in receiving that. We've got that meeting then scheduled for the 10th, which is the Thursday before the council meeting. That information as well would be provided to those abutting properties or the properties to be assessed. Go ahead, Jasper, if you don't mind. So the proposed hearing, the formal assessment hearing that we're asking you to order tonight is scheduled to be held on September 14th. At 6:30, the regular time. That is the night of a council meeting. And as consistent to practice here under the COVID-19, we do intend to hold that as a remote meeting participation. The reason for the time of the 14th is to allow proper time for noticing. 429 specifically speaks to the required time allotted for newspaper publishings, as well as time received between the meeting and the letters. So those would be taken care of here in late August to be meeting those criteria. And then the intent is that the meeting's held on the 14th. That would be where those comments are able to be received. And then staff is intending then to come back on the 28th, and that would be the formal meeting to make a decision to adopt the assessment roll. So we intend the 14th to be just really the hearing, and then follow up then with the adoption of the roll, the meeting following. So just a little heads up then on kind of what the upcoming schedule looks like. So with that, I'd be happy to have answer any questions or have any further dialogue.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, I have a couple comments just about the
Engineer
process.
Bingfang, I do have a couple of questions for you. Okay, I do have a couple of questions. My first question would be, just to be clear, September 10th at 6:30 would be the opportunity for an open dialogue with City Council and staff regarding the assessments. And then on the 14th at 6:30, 14th of September at 6:30, that's when we actually go ahead and have the public hearing. Now, that all said, of the 143 PIDs that are involved with this project, based off your experience in doing this job as long as you have, can you give City Council a feel for how many potential challenges we could be looking at regarding this assessment process? Any clue?
Mayor Hague, this is Administrator Krugel. I can address that a little bit. We have one project that we did, the 2017 project, under our belt, and I think we had one person come to the actual hearing itself. One thing I wanted to mention was just about the kind of current climate that we're in with COVID-19. We want to make it as easy for people to participate and appeal and have a conversation with City Council. So we want to make sure everybody knows that if you don't feel comfortable coming to the meeting or participating on an online meeting per se, that you can always submit any appeal that you have in writing to myself or the city clerk, and that will then be read and put into the record at the meeting itself. We're working on reaching out to some individuals that you'll see in the assessment roll that we feel might have some questions about the proposed assessment. So we're trying to open a direct communication channel with them so that they can get the questions answered. To be clear, on the 10th, that we're not planning on having any direct dialogue with City Council. At that time, it'll just be a presentation and questions to staff. On the 14th, that's the actual public hearing, and that's when you can see people potentially coming in and appealing to the city council to change their assessment per se. As stated before, in 2017, we didn't have, I think we had one person just with some questions, not necessarily asking to have like the assessment reduced, but yeah, you could expect that this is a very large assessment roll, a very large project, and there will likely be some people that are requesting, especially with COVID-19 occurring right now, potentially with some hardships and things like that. One thing I want to make sure is clear is if somebody chooses to have their assessment rolled to their property taxes or to their tax roll, they will have 15 years to pay that back to the city at a interest rate of at a minimum of 3% and a maximum of 1% above what the bond sale is. So if we sell the bond at 2.5%, that means that interest rate would be 3.5%, which is a fairly competitive interest rate right now for a loan of that nature. And in general, the residential properties, the maximum amount is $7,500 for, let's say, the reconstruction project. For the reclamation, it's $5,000, and for the or $5,500, I believe. And for the mill and overlay, it's $2,000. So comparing it to previous assessment rolls for projects, let's say on Morningside or Turl or North 2nd Street, those assessment numbers are significantly lower than what we've had in the past, and that was met with some positivity from residents in at the 2nd Street project in 2017, because it was not uncommon for somebody to be assessed, over $15,000 for a single family home previously. So those numbers have come down significantly, and we feel that they're justifiable, and we can justify the benefit to the property owner. So just a couple comments about the logistics and what the expectation should be.
That was a fantastic answer. I wonder if I could have you explain a little bit about what the process consists of now in regards to staff. These 143 PIDs, they'll have this information mailed to them, I guess then, and that's how they're going to be notified that this is what their responsibility is going to be for the meeting on the 14th of September.
That is correct. So in the mailing that every property owner that's on the proposed assessment roll, there will be a invitation to the open house on the 10th, the virtual open house. There will be a link that people can attend, and then there will be the formal notice to attend the meeting at the public hearing on the 14th. And what we're doing is we're not actually going to, and this is par for the course when looking at some of these things, we're not going to evaluate the adoption of the assessment roll on the 14th. We're going to give it basically 2 weeks until the 28th to kind of let those comments settle with city council to see if there's any changes that are warranted. And then on the 28th of September, we'll actually be looking at adopting that assessment roll. And then, so just kind of the timeline, if I may, after the 28th, individuals will have until, I believe, November 1st to pay for their assessment interest-free. After November 1st, that's the cutoff date, and that's partially because of that. In November is when we're going to sell the bond, and then also we have to get that information to the county by November 15th. So it gives us a little cushion there. So they'll have about a month, a little over a month to determine if they're going to let it roll into their property taxes, pay a portion of it and have some of it roll into their property taxes, or pay it all up front interest-free. And that kind of gets us to the end of the assessment process once we certify those amounts that are adopted by city council in November.
Thank you for a very detailed explanation. Does anybody else from city council have anything for either our city administrator or our city engineer? Nobody? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to adopt the attached resolution ordering a public hearing on September 14th at 6:30 for the proposed assessment for the CASA 22, or known as the Trunk Highway 112 Turnback Improvement Project.
Fabulous, so moved.
Thank you, sir.
Krugman, second.
Thank you, sir. Any final discussion? Administrator Krugel, if you'd be kind enough to go ahead and take the vote for ordering the hearing on the proposed assessment for the attached resolution ordering a public hearing on September 14th at 6:30 and the proposed assessment for the CASA 22 Turnback Highway 112 improvement project.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Favelis,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Slater,
Aye.
and Mayor Hague.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. The next item on our docket is 6 Echo, our government capital lease, water and electric meter payment memo. Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, this is kind of a standard reimbursement request from government capital, but we have Corey here tonight to kind of go over some of the details of this quickly, just kind of talking about this project as it kind of winds down. This is the second to last item that you'll see related to the core and main project for the meter project. The next one will be on August 24th. And that one will likely be less than $10,000. I think I had a typo in my responses to some questions that it would be less than $10. It's actually less than $10,000. So we're really nearing the end of this project. So I'll hand it over to Engineer Beanfang to kind of cover any of the other details on this project.
Thank you,
Welcome
Jasper.
back again, Engineer Beanfang.
Appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Jasper did a good job summarizing. What we have here is the final partial pay estimate. Really, the timing of all the supply of electric meters has really brought us to this time frame in 2020. Feels like we've been talking about this project for a while. It's taken about this long to get through and get everything supplied and shipped and furnished. And then additionally, I think we're all aware that there are some challenges with delivering this project. And so we've been successfully able to resolve those with core and main. And so what you have before you here will be the final partial. It's a more sizable estimate. We're paying for those electric meters and some of the final items. So all work has been completed, and there's no additional work necessary. So the project is complete. We're just stepping ourselves here into a final acceptance. So you have the partial before you, and then in 2 weeks we'll come around with the final, and then that will be the official project acceptance and essentially final payment, releasing of retainage, and i.e. project done, closed out. So I think we're, at a staff level, we're satisfied with the way that this project has ended. I wouldn't say the process was always enjoyable, but I think our intention here on the 24th is that we will be presenting a staff supported closeout, essentially achieving what the project's hopes were for the meter project. So with that, I'd entertain any questions or any additional discussion.
Member Fabulous, is there a warranty on these?
Yeah, Mr. Fabulous, if I heard you correctly, there's a project warranty. So on the workmanship that was done, kind of standard practice on some of these municipal projects is that would be a 2-year warranty from time of final closeout. Might sound very familiar to discussions on 2nd Street and what then would follow CASA 22. As far as the meter warranties themselves on the meters, I would have to follow up. I don't know if I have an honest answer as far as the true meter warranty from the manufacturer, what the duration of that is. I'm not sure if you do, Jasper. I certainly know Rich would have the answer to that, but I don't have for you at this time.
Yes, Mayor and City Council. Generally, the residential meters have a 15-year warranty. So they're warranted by Core and Main or Census for 15 years. That warranty is reduced for the larger size meters, and I don't know those off the top of my head, but generally they have a warranty based on kind of the use of them. So we'll monitor them. Hopefully we won't have any issues with them. for warranty purposes, but that could happen. But the majority of the meters are warranted for 15 years.
Thank you.
Administrator Krugel, question for you. In regards to the $25 refund that people are getting for submitting their information regarding their meters, do we have a percentage of the community that has already submitted to the city?
I don't know that number off the top of my head, but I can ask Zach tomorrow, and I can send something out to kind of get an idea of out to city council about where we're at percentage wise. But I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for either administrator or engineer?
Mr. Mayor, this is Newell. The last thing we just talked about, which is,
Go ahead, Councilmember Krogman.
yeah, this is tangential to the motion that we're going to consider, but follows up with the question about the $25 rebate. There was a glitch in sending information out about that, and that certain people did not get it because they didn't get the newsletter because they're on the automatic billing or the new system, the pay hub or whatever it's called. So Jasper, what plans do we have to, again, notify people of the possibility that if they submit, they'll get $25?
Yep. So Councilmember Krogman, I can answer that. So what we're working on is there's a self-service portal for those individuals that have the auto payment set up. So it'll be located there. The idea too, and I haven't heard if this is actually working with the last bill that went out. So I'll solicit some feedback, but it should be also included in the email that you receive with your electronic bill, your paperless bill. So if there is a newsletter, it should be in that email as well. So we're confident that implementing those two things, people will have access to those. We'll do some more marketing too for the program. It seems like once people know about it and hear about it, that they are more than willing to try to get that $25 rebate. Or if they have 2 meters, get the $50 rebate. So, and I will note that all of those rebates are paid in full by Core and Main as part of the project, so that they can. So that's how we got to the place where we are today, feeling confident that we can close the project out by doing this.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion then to approve the execution of the payment request form attached to this agenda item totaling $140,361.19. These funds will be dispersed to the vendor from Government Capital Corporation.
Schleter, so moved.
Thank you, sir.
Kirby, second.
I'll go ahead and give a second. I'm sorry,
Kirby,
was
second.
that Kirby? Thank you, Councilmember Kirby. Okay, any additional discussion? Hearing none, Administrator Krugel, if you'd be kind enough to do the vote for 6 Echo, our Government Capital Corporation lease item approval.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Favalis,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter,
Aye.
and Mayor Hague.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And our last item on our regular agenda tonight is 6 Foxtrot, our legal services contract. Administrator Krugel.
Mayor Hague, members of City Council, before you tonight is an agreement culminating the end of our search, our request for proposals for legal services, civil legal services. What we have and what was directed to staff was to develop a contract with Corey and Ruppy, PLLP, and that's what has been included in the packet. It's a pretty standard contract going over the different fees and the different service areas. We've also engaged Flaherty and Hood for specialized legal counsel. You won't see an engagement contract of this nature just because the engagement that we have with Flaherty and Hood will likely be a lot less than with Corey and Ruppy, and more specialized and directed more, I'd say directly for specific things. And we had a very good meeting. Mike Corey actually came down to the city on Wednesday of last week. Spent about 6 hours in town. Ms. DiMaggio and myself took him around and showed him the city and went over a few things with him. It was a very good meeting, and he's very excited to potentially be on board here, helping us out. And as we stated during the whole process, or towards the end of the process, working with Mr. Corey has been very good. A lot of the stuff that he's worked on for us has been fairly complex. The mall redevelopment, development agreement, things of that nature. So we've been very happy, and staff and our consultants, including Mr. Beanfang here, have had nothing but praise for Mr. Corey. So we're excited to get to work with him potentially. And that, as mentioned, the contract is attached to the agenda item, and it conforms with the information provided in the RFP. So the rates are the same. The general service areas are the same. So what we're looking for tonight is just a motion from City Council approving the attached agreement to have a legal contract with Corey and Ruppy PLLP for the next 3 years. I will entertain any questions.
Any questions for our administrator regarding the considering of the approval of the agreement for civil attorney services?
This is Councilmember Schleter. One question. I didn't see it on the general questions. We've got City of Sueur and the wrong county put in there. Is that going to be corrected?
Yes. There's the wrong county put in there. Okay. Yep. We can get that corrected on the final agreement before it gets signed.
Anybody else? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion then for City Council to enter into agreement with Corey and Ruppy PLLP once the correction of the county has been completed.
This is Krugman, so move.
Thank you, sir.
Fabulous second.
Thank you, sir. Any final questions? Administrator Kruger, if you be kind enough to take the vote then for the considering of the approval of the agreement for civil attorney services with the correction on the county.
Yes, sir. Councilmember Favalis,
Aye.
Councilmember Kirby,
Aye.
Councilmember Krogman,
Aye.
Councilmember Schleter,
Aye.
and Mayor Hague.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
That completes our regular agenda for tonight, and I know Councilmember Kirby's got some additional items he has to take care of, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the opportunity to go first, Councilmember Kirby, then, so you can get on out of and take care of what you need to take care of. So if you kick off our comments, reports, and items of appreciation, sir.
Well, I appreciate that, Mayor Hague. I do have to check out here pretty quick. I have nothing to report tonight. I just want to share with everybody, I completed my petition this week for my candidacy for mayor. And I just want to thank everybody for who signed that. And I want to also extend the council that I'm looking forward to working with them. So if I were to be elected, and I appreciate all the support and advice I've gotten from you, Greg, over this. So thank you very much.
Congratulations to you, and nothing but the best for you, Councilmember Kirby.
Again, thank you. And
okay, thank you, sir. Councilmember Krogman.
Let me cover about 4 things as quickly as I can. Actually 3 with subcategories. We did get information this week about the census, which I believe is going to conclude at the end of September. Certainly the city administrator might want to chime in here. For a state where it is 72.4% return rate, We're ahead of that as a city at 74.7. I'll repeat those numbers, 72.4 for the state, 74.7 for our city. But that means we've got a little over 25% still. We need to get people to respond. And this determines a lot of things for us as a city and a county. So we want to encourage people to do that. And I know the city has been encouraging people. Jasper, do you want to say anything before I move on then?
Councilmember Krogman, no, it was a great, I had the map pulled up of Sueur to talk about this on my little section. So if you haven't already, definitely fill it out. It's very easy to do online, and you can get us up there. But Sueur, I'll just throw out some, I think Sueur has historically been at about 78% response rate. So we're almost there historically from what the 2010 census was. But yeah, it'd be great, and it does affect if the more people we potentially have, the more funding we potentially get. Just for an example, the CARES Act was dispersed based on your capita, so how many people were in your town. So having a good count will help us if that count does go up. So I'll leave that at that.
Super, thank you. The next item is the Minnesota Municipal Power Agency, our wholesale electrical provider. We're one of 12 cities, I believe, that are part of that group. The annual report was just issued. It is, each council member received one. We have additional copies that the members of the public could pick up at City Hall. It's also available online, and staff at City Hall could help people access the online version if they so desired. The next report is, I'm your representative to the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. The annual meeting was held a few weeks ago. I'll give you some highlights. Number one, the dues will remain the same for each municipality. The budget was exactly the same, although some things within the budget were moved around. Flaherty and Hood was retained for another 2 years to be our work in the background group, basically called lobbyists, but they also do a lot to help us and give us advice at the city level. In addition to that, there's an environmental action fund, and we've been a participant in that in the past. It's 25 cents per person in the town or city, so we'll vote on that at a later time. And in the past, we have contributed that 25 cents per person in our community. It was a very smooth meeting, very well run. It was done online. I will predict that in the future, because they're not under the constraints that we have in some cases with government agencies, some of their business may well be done that way. It's very efficient. So it was a very good meeting. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Favolis.
Okay, so we did not have an RPAC meeting. It was canceled for lack of a quorum. So nothing to report on that aspect. I wanted to give a shout out to the city of Sueur for letting the Giant Celebration Committee and the Lions and the food shelf use the parking lot at the community center for an event that went very well. It went really, really well. Big turnout for the corn, and big turnout for people outside spraying kids down as they went by on bicycles, and got a lot of Facebook time out of that. So thank you very much for that, Corey, for keeping in touch with me about about what road closures or road things might affect the event, and it all went well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Favolis. Councilmember Schluter.
I have nothing to report. I did just have a question for the city administrator, wondering if he had any comments on the procedures in place for the primary election tomorrow.
Yes, I do. I was going to talk a little bit about that during my little section, but really, I'll talk about it right now. So I have a note from our city clerk, because she is the one running the election. So I'll just kind of read from what she told me. Voters can enter from the police department doors or the upper level city doors, foot traffic will be one way and all voters will exit through the south lower level doors. So you'll have some kind of traffic control signage that makes sure people aren't crossing paths coming in and out of the downstairs of the city hall, which that is a narrow corridor there. There will be floor decals and directional signage. There will be plexiglass dividers between the election judges and the voters. Election judges will be distanced and wearing masks. We will be providing masks to any voter who does not have one. So we will be requiring and following the mandate for masks. Machines will be regularly disinfected and voters will have the ability to keep their pens. If they do not keep their pens, they will be separated and sanitized at a later time. Curbside voting is also an option. So if you do not feel comfortable, we will accommodate you by being able to do curbside voting. And just to note the primary election, just a procedural deal. You'll get your ballot. Basically, you have to determine what party you are and only vote for that one party. People generally get confused sometimes at the primaries and pick the various individuals for each of the parties. It's really, you need to just pick your one party. So if you're a Republican or Democrat or any of the other parties, you pick the candidates that are only in your party's section. If you pick all of the candidates and you run it through the machine, it'll bounce it back and say that it wasn't filled out correctly. So just a note to individuals that will participate in the primary. So it will be different than any years that we've had in the past, like a lot of things are due to COVID-19, but we're following the guidelines and the county has been helping out and the state's been helping out as far as setting up some of these procedures.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. And I've got a couple of things on this coming Friday, the 14th. I will have to go to the center, which is our county seat, to go ahead and certify the primary results. And I'd also like to thank everybody that has taken it upon themselves to go ahead and turn in their applications for not only mayor, but also for our city council. And thank you so much for that. And that should take care of it for me. Do we have anything at all from Engineer Bengfang? Is there anything you'd like to give us in regards to maybe any updates on the CASA 22 project or anything else that comes to mind, sir?
Yeah, I can give a quick update on the construction. We are making progress. Tomorrow is going to be a pretty big day. We're going to be paving 4th Street, the rest of Ferry, and then Elmwood down to Regency. So tomorrow and Wednesday are going to be some big action days in regards to paving. We started the wall work on Bridge Street, anticipate a couple weeks, and we'll be hopefully putting Bridge Street sidewalk down and then nearing completion on that. Right now we're targeting an opening of Ferry by the end of the week of August 21st. So about another 2 weeks here, we're going to be opening up Ferry, which will be a big benefit for the sake of traffic. We identified that always as a value and a need for school starting. So we're right on schedule with that. About another week here, we're going to be done with utilities, which, to be middle of August and done with the utilities on this phase, that'll be a pretty big milestone achieved. We're identifying starting of sod probably in about another 2 weeks on those areas that are paved and sidewalks completed. So 2nd Street would be the first candidate there for sod, and then really just following its way, down Ferry and down Elmwood. And I would say, weather remains consistent, progress remains consistent. I think we're going to find ourselves ahead of schedule here, which is a pretty incredible testament, really, considering the size of the project and all the work that we're tasked with completing this year. So things are going considerably well.
Thank you for that update, Engineer Bengfang, and thank you for your direction and leadership on getting the city of Sueur through this 3.7 miles of construction. I know it's been an awful lot of work, and we've had a lot of changes in our traffic patterns and things of this nature, but I think we've handled it extremely well, and that's obviously attributed to your leadership and direction. So thank you, sir.
I appreciate that.
I see that we You're welcome. I see we also have Director Kuchera that's joining us. Director Kuchera, did you have anything you'd like to offer?
Not at this time here. I think Jasper, Administrator Krugel, and Engineer Beefing have covered everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let me see. I think that should take care of everybody other than our city administrator. Administrator Krugel, you'd like to be the hammer again tonight, sir?
Yes, sir. And, you know, 3/4 of my notes I've already been spoke about. I was going to talk a little bit about the primary and then the election. You know, it does close tomorrow at 5. So if you're interested, definitely try to drop it off if you do before 5, because there's some verification that needs to be done by 5. And if there's any issues, we'd like to be able to help work through them. So the sooner you can get them to us, the better. I was going to talk about the census. Councilmember Krogman talked about that. And last was a project that a local Eagle Scout, Liam West, did in Legion Park this weekend, building a Gaga pit. And a lot of people probably don't know what a Gaga pit is. Maybe the RPAC representatives do, because we did talk about it at RPAC. But it's an Eagle Scout project that was completed this weekend. And it was tremendous to see how many people from the community came by and helped out. So a huge testament to the community for coming and helping out. And it really didn't take long to get the Gaga pit set up. And basically, it's a form of dodgeball. If you don't know what it is, look it up online and you can find it. But there will be a ball available. I think there will be a ball actually in the Gaga pit that was provided by the Eagle Scout Liam West. And also we'll have one at the outdoor pool for the time being while the outdoor pool's open. And then after the outdoor pool closes, we'll have one available to the public to pick up and use at the community center. So great project. Very proud of Liam for doing the work to get that done. And if you haven't checked it out, it's where the old merry-go-round was at Legion Park that was removed, I believe, last summer. So a good replacement of that item. So that's all I have. Very good, very proud of that project and that individual for getting it completed.
Yeah, well done to Mr. West. City of Sueur benefits when we have people in our community step up and do something not only for our community, but obviously for all of our citizens too to enjoy. So thank you. Anybody have any final thoughts? I'll entertain a motion then for adjournment.
Krogman, so move.
Fabulous,
Thank you,
second.
sir. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a great evening, everybody, and thank you so much for your time tonight. And let's all keep up the good work. Thank you.